Hello everybody, welcome back. Angel Arts is here, and welcome to another episode of Gay Let's Play Dragon Age Inquisition. In our last episode, we had a massive, at least for me, a massive plot twist with involving Blackwall. It's still blowing my mind. Um, I actually took some time to look back on some of the previous conversations and our previous interactions with Blackwall, and it's really neat because when you do go back, you start to pick up little clues and little hints that sort of was leading up to the big reveal, but I just never caught them. So, first of all, if you ever asking him about any specific details with the Grey Wardens in general, he's very evasive about it. And I assumed, and I bet that the writers were banking on that a lot of people are going to assume this, is that he was just simply being very secretive, because, warden business and all that. And you would think, oh, well, I just have to get him to trust me, get to know him more, and then maybe he'll open up little by little, because that's how it tends to happen in all BioWare games. But, that's one tiny little red flag, which really wasn't a red flag if, because of the way that the trend has been going in other Dragon Age or other BioWare games. But the other thing is, I believe in the Book of Thetis, somewhere in the Book of Thetis, there is a letter from Blackwall. In Dragon Age Inquisition, I think there was a conversation where you can ask Blackwall where he's been, like where has he been this entire time, what was he doing during the Blight. And Blackwall's response was he was in Ferelden fighting as many Darkspawn as he could. But in the Book of Thetis, the letter from Blackwall essentially said that he wasn't in Ferelden. He was in Orlais, because the Grey Wardens were not allowed, or they weren't able to. Something was keeping the Grey Wardens from Orlais to come to Ferelden to fight the Blight, to fight the Darkspawn. I don't remember the reason, but that was essentially why Alistair and Angelus was pretty much it as far as the Grey Wardens were concerned, at least for most of the game. So Blackwall essentially contradicted himself when he said that he was in Ferelden during the Blight. And I totally did not catch that. So I think it's implied that the person who wrote the Blackwall, who wrote the letter in the Book of Thetis, was the real Blackwall. And then the Blackwall that you meet in this game, of course, is the imposter, Tom Raynor. Um, I'm just shocked. And so now we have to decide what to do with him, which is, it's not a simple task, because he's a companion, but he's also not who you think he was. He was lying to us the whole time. And he basically allowed innocent people take the blame / take the fall, which it's not cool at all. The Arcanist and the Fade. Arcanist Dagna was supplied with remnants of exposures to the rifts of the Fade, and she has done something. It is perhaps best to contain her efforts to the Undercroft from now on. Bianca aiming 2 enhanced. Oh, that's nice. Schematic for Bianca, and a Bianca upgrade, that's really nice. Hard in Hardtown, a worthy dwarf. Ambassador. The city of Kirkwall is grateful for the information that led to the arrest of Worthy the Dwarf. Okay, so good, he got arrested. He is in guard custody now. His statement upon being arrested was, "I would have gotten away with it if it weren't for those meddling Inquisitors and that dog." We are taking this as a confession. Viscount Bran. Ooh, and an ornate Bianca grip. Ooh, we're getting a lot of Bianca love. Contact the hero for Eldon. Oh yeah. Sister Leliana. None of our agents have seen the hero for Eldon, but our normal work led us to scattered references of him passing through the area. It will take a serious commitment of resources, but we could attempt to contact him. Only Leliana can do this, which makes sense because she was the one who met the Warden. I mean, so did Cullen, but Leliana is actually a close friend to Angelus. At your command, I will attempt to make contact. So it makes sense that she would be the one who would reach out to Angelus. Continuing research. A formally submitted report. Current progress and findings. Some animals in regions with closed rifts exhibit fewer altered behaviors, but the results are inconsistent. Several anomalies in hunting patterns suggest the breach still impacts local wildlife. Furthermore, some species persist in erratic behaviors. I suspect that both the opening and closing of rifts cause fluctuations in the veil that continue to disturb their natural instincts. Long-term effects still unknown. Studying the flight patterns of local songbirds may yield further results. Alright. Rainer's release, an alternative. Liliana informs me that your contacts in the underworld could aid in... Alright, well, an offer whispered in the right circles, a dozen factions vying for our favor. We'll see who desires it the most. It's gonna be tough. I thought I figured this out, well, overnight. I slept on this. What's going through Art's mind? Art is very compassionate, a very compassionate Canary. And he can be compassionate to a fault. He can be very compassionate to a fault. He hates playing favorites. He absolutely hates giving people special treatment just because he's friends with them. He thinks that Blackwall should be punished for what he did. But Art's also very forgiving. Oh, this is tough. I mean, if I'm going to do it, it's underhanded, and Art absolutely hates this. But having Liliana go out and free Blackwall, or Tom, whatever his name is pretty... It's definitely shady, you know, as opposed to doing it directly through here. Two problems, one solution. There was a traitor to our cause, a man similar to in build and appearance to Rainer. We bind and gag him. I mean, that's deceiving as well. We can storm the prison with a small force, prepared for casualties. See, Art doesn't want any more deaths. That's the problem. He doesn't want to go this route because he doesn't want any more deaths, especially just to save the imposter. That's definitely not what he's going to do. This one seems just as shady. I can request a special dispensation from the Orlesian throne, allowing Tom to be transferred to Inquisition. This may anger some, but after the Inquisition shouldn't suffer for this. Art believes the Inquisition shouldn't suffer for this. So of course the easy thing is to just let Tom rot in prison. But something is tugging at Art. Something is tugging at Art. Art's gonna do it. Go, Liliana, go. You have 3 minutes.
Let's see what we have.
You have 3 minutes, Liliana. Investigate the Elven Ruins. Because after that, I want to send Liliana to Angelus. That's what I'm talking about. Annexing Kirkwall. We have a chance to advantage Aveline. Retaliate against anyone ever harbored Kirkwall. With our help, she can break Sebastian's resolve. I fear diplomatic ramifications. Let us tell the prince that the Inquisition has no one to spare. After the destruction of Haven, who would blame us? I feel that if I do this, I'm playing favorites. Because I'm thinking out of character. Because this essentially is protecting Sebastian from Anders. I'm sorry, this is protecting Adash. This, having Cullen beef up Aveline's troops, is essentially protecting Anders from Sebastian. And I can't, and that's personal to me, not Art. If it were up to me, I would want to protect Anders. Except I also don't. I feel like Anders also needs... This is tough, because this is the same situation. Anders really probably should be punished for what happened. And I guess he's getting punished now because he just lost Hawk. So I guess that's his punishment. But anyway, me sending Cullen to protect Anders from Sebastian would just, again, would be more from me and not from Art in character. I think I'm just gonna let them let them resolve this on their own. If Sebastian wants to attack Anders, if Anders wants to protect himself, if Aveline wants to stop Sebastian from taking over Kirkwall, they can decide on that. I think the Inquisition is meddled in enough affairs. The diplomatic ramifications. Part of me really wants to protect Anders. Part of me also feels like he's kind of getting what he deserves. So because of that, I don't want to send Cullen to necessarily swing the vote. If I send Leliana or Cullen, it's going to swing it one direction or other. Either we're helping Sebastian or we're helping Anders. And I can't... Honestly, I would... At this moment in time, unless Anders has gotten better, I would choose Sebastian over Anders. I would choose Sebastian over Anders. Because Sebastian has every right to be horrendously upset at what's been going on. And yes, I admit he probably is holding a bit of a grudge right now. But I think in character, I don't think the Inquisition has a place to decide one way or another, has a place to sway it in one direction or other. And since Art doesn't know Sebastian or Art doesn't know Sebastian or Anders, so he has no like personal claim.
Let us begin.
He has, so I think it makes most sense in character for Josephine to tell them that we can't spare anyone. We can't spare anyone. And we'll see what happens with Anders. Maybe Anders will get killed, which means he'll get to join Hawk, you know? Oh, are you already done? That was fast, Leliana. Thank you. It took me 3 minutes to decide. Yeah, it took me 3 minutes. Raynor was brought to Skyhold Gates under cover of darkness. Best not to ask how. You are so good, Leliana. Leliana was able to go in and out in 3 minutes. Which means I'm gonna send her to find... I'm gonna send her to contact the Warden. Contact the hero for Eldon. You have 16 hours. 16 hours for Leliana. Completed, that's in progress. Completed, available. Completed, gather herbs. Crestwood resources. That just comes back. Completed, that just comes back. That just comes back. Completed. Stop the rumors. Gather coin. Alright, I think with this, that'll be all of the Ferelden ones that we can do. Except for the one on the far right, which needs to be... No, this is ridiculous. I don't want to have Cullen do the no, this is ridiculous. Completed. Western approach resources, gather metals, all that glitters. Protect Valgamord from Darkspawn, improving morale. Yeah, fine. We'll send Cullen there.
All right.
We're gonna send them back out again after this. But maybe by that time I'll finish determining my judgment on Blackwall. Blackwall. Okay. I'm going to look at all of the options and then decide what to do with Blackwall. This is this is clutch, guys. This is very clutch. And where is my throne? Okay, I'm gonna sit in my new invisible throne. Like a boss. Look at the, check that out.
This day, Inquisitor, I must present Captain Tom Raynor, formerly known to us as Warden Blackwall.
Yeah, figured as much.
His crimes, well, You are aware of his crimes. The decision of what to do with him is yours.
That's a huge throne I'm on right now. Makes Art look very intimidating. Why did you have to do this to me? Your life is mine now. Oh god, I hate to see you. That is the honest answer. Art hates to see him like this. Art really hates it that it's come down to this.
I didn't think this would be easy, but it's harder than I thought.
Another thing to regret. Using your ties to the underworld to free me. You're a criminal, same as me. The world will learn how you've used your influence. They'll know the Inquisition is corrupt.
Thanks a lot, Blackwall. Thanks so much, Blackwall. I don't like any of these responses. This is all kinds of horrible, because this is a lose-lose situation. Art was placed in a lose-lose situation. Oh, this is tough. Because this is pretty much the ends justify the means kind of thing, and I feel horrible. Art feels horrible about this. He had to bend. It's not, I don't like the I had no choice, because he did have a choice. Art did have a choice. He doesn't think this will be forgotten, and he doesn't think your opinions don't matter either. So none of those choices are good. I don't like any of those choices, but the one that I dislike the least is I had no choice, even though technically Art did have a choice. He knew what he was doing, and he did it anyway, even though it went totally against his principles.
I wish there had been another way, but my options were limited.
You could have left me there.
I could have.
I accepted my punishment. I was ready for all this to end.
I know, I know.
Why would you stop it? What becomes of me now?
Apologize for the lag, guys. You're free if you atone. The wardens will decide, I own you, your lie continues. I think this is key. You're free if you atone, which is not... It's so not fair. It's so not fair. But that's the whole point of forgiveness. Forgiveness isn't fair. Compassion and forgiveness is not fair. You can show compassion to the people who have wronged you. Now granted, Art wasn't the one that was murdered by this man, or was it wasn't like he was affected directly by this man, besides his deception. Of course, that's huge too. Lying to him and pretending something is not, that's huge too. But yeah, that's the beauty with forgiveness. It's not fair. But that, again, at the same time, you argue, that doesn't mean that all of the people that Blackwall wronged also forgive him too. That doesn't mean that either, so...
You have your freedom.
It cannot be as simple as that.
It isn't.
Atone.
You're free to atone as the man you are, not the traitor you thought you were, or the warden you pretended to be.
The man I am. I barely know him. But I have a lot to make up for.
Yeah. I can't imagine what
It
this...
is mine. Then I pledge it to the Inquisition.
Good.
My sword is yours. If I'd said anything less, would an arrow from the rookery have snuffed me like a candle?
Take your post, Tom Rainier.
It's sort of like conscripting in the Grey Wardens, you know? The Grey Wardens are able to give free passes to criminals, to really shady characters, you know, blood mages even, because the Wardens are all about the ends justify the means. And yes, that can be really bad. I mean, we've seen it in this game. We saw it in this game. I think Art is hoping that this doesn't become a habit, you know, but it's just one of those things. You give them 1 inch. That was really tough, guys. that was really the hardest decision that I've had to make this game. Consequences of Blackwall's lie operation available. Art feels devastated at what he had to do because he felt, right now he's feeling horrible because he felt like he truly feels like he had to go against his principles there. He feels like he had to go against his principles there. And that's really huge for him. He feels like he sold out. All because he wanted to give Blackwall a chance to redeem himself and do some good in this world, because he's not going to do much good rotting in a prison. If I guess the way Art sees it, if Tom is able to help with the Inquisition like he has directly for the last who knows how many weeks or days, it probably will never make up for everything that he did, but it's probably in the long run more productive than him rotting in prison. I think that my other Inquisitor is probably going to keep him in jail, though. Probably will keep him in jail. Because, man, that was... I don't know. That was tough. That was super tough. I just can't imagine what his romance would be like. I mean, here you are trying to have a relationship with this guy only to find out later on that he's not... The person that you thought you were with was not that person at all. You know? He was wearing a mask, and so you start to question, did I actually really know this guy? You know, did I really know him? And how do I feel about it? Which is pretty cool, because a lot of people going in, once they learned about Blackwall and how he was an older Grey Warden, comparatively, people were thinking, including myself, that his romance was going to be very Thane-like, like the Thane romance of Inquisition, which was essentially him not being able to live very long. And people thought, including myself, that was the main issue, like the main drama, the source of the drama of his romance, which was so, but it was something totally different. And I want to believe that the writers, that BioWare did that in purpose, because I think a lot of the writers were expecting players to expect this to be, oh, it's another Thane romance. And then just totally pull the rug out of you and say, just kidding! You know, fooled you. That wasn't the big reveal or the big drama source for Blackwall. It's this thing, which is totally did not see that coming. So I'm just curious, especially with Gamer MD83, of whom I'm a big fan of. She's a huge Blackwall fan, and I'm pretty sure that she is romancing him right now, and that she is recording her reactions to the romance. So I'm just dying to find out how she will react to the reveal.
I have requests for information on your lineage from a few interested parties at the Winter Palace.
Andraste preserve me. Feel free to use those requests as kindling.
No, I shall take them. I want to know who pines for our commander. We can use this
I'm sure
to our
you can,
advantage.
Liana.
I am not bait.
Hush.
Oh, Cullen! Oh, Cullen. You can look pretty, Cullen. Protect Valgamord from Darkspawn. Inquisitor. The Grey Wardens fought bravely and with great skill. The town of Valgamord was saved, and the Wardens themselves took a few casualties. They await further commands. Commander Cullen. Let's take a look at the consequences of Blackwall's lie. A letter written in fine hand and lightly scented by Josephine. The issue of Tom Raynor has been settled, but his deception has had far-reaching consequences. Had we not used the Grey Warden treaties, we might not have found ourselves in so awkward a position. As it is, I receive daily messages from all quarters demanding we make reparations. We must do something. No, Art agrees. Art totally agrees we need to make reparations. Scribbled beneath, signed by Cullen. I'm sorry, did we embarrass a duchess at a soiree by stepping on her gown, or was the sky torn open and heaven beset by an ancient darkspawn magister? We needed the gold. We needed the men. You would have persuaded someone to part with them, with or without the treaties. We are not making reparations for doing what we had to do, what no one else could have done. Don't forget, we are now allied with the Wardens. If we had no authority to conscript before, we do now. That's, I mean, Cullen's got a point. We're conscripting Tom. It's a conscription. So, this is what I said earlier. It's like a Grey Warden conscription. We step forward, not back. No apologies. What happened with the Wardens gives us more authority than ever to use the treaties. I'm with you, Cullen. This is why I love Cullen. And I'm gonna romance the snot out of him as soon as I get the chance. It makes it. Thank you, Cullen is on Art's side. This is why I know that the bromance is strong with those two. Totally strong with them. Josephine, do we want the Inquisition to survive beyond Corypheus' defeat? We won't always be at war. Why alienate allies when it would take so little to appease them? Let us return what was taken under false pretense and put these treaties aside. I have to admit, Josephine has a good point there too. I think I'm going to have to go with, now that I've heard Josephine's side of it, I think what Cullen says makes sense in the immediate, like, now, while we're still fighting Corypheus, but Josephine's looking at the bigger picture, and Art, being a very thoughtful Canary, who doesn't just live in the now, I'd like to believe that Art is very strategic about these kinds of things, and he wants to look at the big picture, and the, you know, I think he's going to lean more towards Josephine, but he agrees with Cullen. At least he needs to agree with Cullen in order to sleep well at night for the next several nights, because I think right now Art is like wondering, you know, gosh, did I just sell my soul to the devil? And if I did, how am I gonna live with myself right now? Find the source of Darkspawn attacks. Inquisitor. The Darkspawn at Valgamord have been slain, but it remains unclear what brought these creatures to the surface. There is no obvious sign, and I am concerned that they might still pose a danger. Marquise Buffon has made clear her wishes that we now depart, which leaves me even more suspicious, as most would welcome further help in these dangerous times. That's a good point. The Grey Wardens have volunteered to assist with the investigation of this mystery in whatever capacity the Inquisition deems most fitting. We wait your orders. The Blight is many things, but is not subtle. My scouts can easily track the corruption to its source. Someone may have been mining the area and free the Darkspawn that way. Let me examine the finances of nobles nearby. Let the Wardens spread out, scour the area. They'll find out where those Darkspawn are coming from soon enough. I agree with Cullen. I mean, these are Wardens. Let them handle their own. Let them handle their issues. And with that, that's only going to be a 10-minute thing. We'll come back with Cullen. I love how Morrigan is just, you know, hanging out with us, and she doesn't really have agents or missions. She just kind of wants to see all of us in action. I'm still kind of disappointed that Leliana hasn't made any mention of Morrigan at all. That's Varric's thing, that's someone being held in... Someone else is being judged? Oh, jeez. And I don't know what's going on with this lag, guys. I really don't know. Alright, well, before the lag gets even worse, I'm just gonna end it here. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Gay Let's Play Dragon Age Inquisition. Tune in next time, everybody, and until then, love yourselves and love each other.